Hi everyone, and welcome to another Sims 4 speed build. So today I'm making a modern mansion in Oasis Springs, and those are two things I haven't done in a while. Like I can't even remember the last time I built a modern house. Like I think it's been at least a year, maybe 2 years since I've done that, and I also can't remember the last time I built in Oasis Springs. I think I haven't built, I think it's been longer since I built in Oasis Springs than since the last time I built a modern house, because the last house I remember building in Oasis Springs was that Spanish mansion that I built here almost 4 years ago, like 3.5 years ago. And I mean, I might have built in Oasis Springs since then, but that's the last thing I remember. So yeah, it's possible it's been that long since I built something in Oasis Springs, which is crazy. Like I've definitely been neglecting building in this world, and also modern builds as well, because I tend to go for more traditional homes, and a few of you have requested that I make more modern homes. So here we go. Yeah, that's why I'm doing this today, just taking care of two things I haven't done in a while. But I did really enjoy working on this house, and I was kind of worried when I started that I wasn't going to enjoy working on this as much as I do more traditional builds. But yeah, I ended up just having a lot of fun working on this house. I really enjoy the process of furnishing and also doing all the landscaping and everything, because this house also has a very well landscaped yard, which isn't something I've done in a while, but I just had so much fun like creating the whole pool area out back, so you'll see that as we get further into the build. But right now I'm just kind of figuring out some of the floor plan, because I did actually base this home off of floor plan, because as I said, I usually don't build modern homes that often. It's definitely not my strongest style, so I just wanted a little bit of help and a little bit of inspiration with coming up with this build. So I found a floor plan that I really liked and used that to kind of base this build off of, although I did of course make some tweaks to it because some things don't translate into The Sims very well, and there are some rooms I decided that I would just rather replace with something else. Like I think one of the things was that the garage in the floor plan I looked at was huge, and there's no need for like a humongous garage in the, in the Sims, although I still did make it pretty good. So I ended up just turning part of what was a garage into a gym, and I'll link the floor plan in case any of you want to check what I used as inspiration. Like I said, it did turn out a little bit different than that, but it did end up being pretty close. This house did take me a while to build because it is pretty much a mansion, and when I first started on, I thought, oh, this will be like a 30-minute speed build, but no, I ended up with an hour of footage, so that is why it's two parts, because, I don't know, I don't really like having two-part speed builds, but I would rather split up into a couple parts and have an hour-long speed build, because I feel like that's a little overwhelming, like that's a lot of time to ask of people, so yeah, I just prefer to split up. It also just makes it easier for me with recording the commentary, but I always do that. Like builds always end up taking longer than I think they're going to. Like with the Charleston single speed build I did, I thought, oh, like this will be a 20-minute speed build, but no, that ended up being like half an hour. So yeah, that's just something that always happens, because I always just end up taking a lot of time with builds, and I don't really like cutting a ton of things out of the video. Like I do cut things down, like if I'm doing repetitive landscaping or if I'm taking forever to decide on something, because I don't want you to watch me like picking out the same thing for like 5 minutes, but other than that, I try to like keep the flow and try to keep most things in. I also don't like to speed it up super fast to the point where you'll get dizzy watching the video. So yeah, anyway, not that any of that is really matters that much. Right now I'm trying to figure out the whole roof situation for this place. Like I thought it would look interesting, like what I did here, where I used the half walls and then I used some of the trim on the, like on the hot half wall level, like I'm doing here, and then, use the black trim on the top and then use black wallpaper on the half walls, just to make it look like, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but just to, I guess, get the look of a larger trim. Like that was kind of what I was going for, because I noticed the house I based this off of had black trim towards the top of it, but it also had like varying wall heights like between the different parts, so I was using the half walls to get that effect. And then you can't put trim you could change the trim on the half wall, but you can't put like the different kinds of thicker trim on the top of the half wall, if that makes any sense. Like the trim that I placed on the regular full walls. So yeah, just doing that whole like using the thicker trim on the top of the regular walls of the house and then painting the half walls black and then putting black trim on top of them was just my way of giving the look of a larger trim and, having that throughout the different half wall heights. And I wasn't sure how that was going to turn out when I started doing it, but I like how it came out in the end. And also, as you can see, we have some skylights on the house. So we have 3 here currently, and I do end up adding another one over one of the other bedrooms, like in this area over here where I'm currently messing around with the roof. because I just love the look of using those glass roofs to create skylights. And there's one over the living room, and then there's one over 3 of the 4 bedrooms. I wanted to have skylights over all the bedrooms, but because of how one of them was situated, it wouldn't have worked as well to put a skylight over that. So yeah, there's not one above the other ones, but it's just something that really creates a beautiful lighting effect, and I just love how that turned out. So you'll see like how it looks when you can look up and see the skylights in the videos at the end of the next part of the speed build, which I am hoping to have up in a couple of days. I mean, it might be up in like 3 days, but I should have it up in a couple days. So yeah, keep an eye out for that on Wednesday. That's when it should be up. And also, the living room is this open 2-floor living room. So that just looks really nice, like having that super high ceiling and then having the skylight at the top of it. So that's another thing that I think is going to look really cool when I do the final fly through of the build. So I'm looking forward to recording that just to see how all of it looks with the different lighting and everything. Because unfortunately it is hard to see all that when you're in build mode because you don't have the ability to hit tab and get into camera mode. Although I think I saw something for a mod that you could do that. I don't know if that's something that's like out yet or if it works or if it was just something that was in the work. And I could be wrong, but I think I also heard rumors at some point that they were possibly going to make tab or like make it so you could hit tab and get into camera mode for build mode. Like I think I heard that some of the sim gurus might be working on that, but I'm not sure if that like is like, I don't think it's confirmed that that's a thing being worked on. I think that was more so just one of those like, oh yeah, that's like something we want to look into someday kind of a deal. But that would be really cool, like just to be able to like hit tab and see how everything looks. Because sometimes like when you're working on builds with like multiple like, you know, 2-floor rooms and stuff like that, or you're using the glass ceilings, like you want to be able to see what that looks like when you're just in build mode. Also just to like be able to take screenshots without having to be able to go into live mode. Like that'd be really nice, like especially since Seasons has released, because that also just makes like the release of Seasons has made it kind of harder to get the right weather and everything when you're trying to record the like video footage and everything for speed builds. Like I found that to be the case. Like the Charleston single speed build, like those of you watching might remember that at the very end it was like raining because I used the weather machine to like make it sunny, and then it wore off, and then it just started raining towards the end, and I didn't feel like dealing with this. So I was like, fine, I'll just get shots of it raining. But yeah, it is a bit frustrating when you have beautiful sunny weather and then it just starts raining in the middle of you trying to get all the video footage. Or also just trying to take screenshots, like screenshots to use in the thumbnail and that kind of a deal. Or I mean, also just like it would be kind of cool to like more easily be able to control the weather than having to go like just some like cheats or something like. Because I know in the Sims 4 or Sims 3, you could type in the testing cheats cheat and then just, I think you would like shift click on the ground or something like that, and you could just like change the weather. I mean, I'm sure there's some kind of bugginess involved with that. Maybe that's why they don't want us to be able to do that. But I don't know. Still, that'd be cool. And I know I've seen that like a bunch of other people want that as well. I did really like the new patch though, which I wasn't expecting because it was kind of like a mini stuff pack and it came with a lot of really cool items. So I also want to make a build. Probably my next build will be a build putting those items to use because I just wanted to make a little tropical beach home. So I'm hoping to have that up sometime next week because I'm really looking forward to being able to put those items to use. Although I did end up, because I started this build before the patch came out, and then after it came out, I switched out some of the doors off of the bedrooms for the sliding glass doors because there were the modern ones that had the similar swatches to what I use here. So I made that swap because I didn't like the doors I used on the bedrooms, the bedrooms that go out to the pool area to begin with, because I just used, like these modern doors that you can see here. But for a bedroom, I feel like they just feel a little weird because I feel like something more so that you would use for a formal entrance or an area, like just a door outside off of like a public area of the house. Like they just don't feel like doors you would have off of a bedroom. So I'm just really glad that they added sliding glass doors in because I've just been really wanting sliding glass doors like since the game came out because that's something that has always frustrated me. So I'm just really glad they added that option in. So anyway, yeah, I did go through after the patch came out and just replaced, I think, like 3 of the doors with the sliding glass doors, and that just made me really happy. And, I just liked how it looked a little bit more after that. So I just wanted to do another build where I could really put all those items to use because I didn't end up using the ceiling fans in this house because I didn't feel like they really suited the style of it. And like the other furniture didn't really suit the style of this house either because it is very modern. And here I'm working on the terrain painting, and originally my plan was to make it so half the yard was as grass, kind of like how the house across the street from this is, where the parts of the yard that are next to those like garden plots on the side of it is grass, and then everywhere else is just kind of sand. But I don't know, I thought that like I kind of tried doing it and then undid it, and it just looks sort of odd and out of place and doesn't really blend in with the world around it that well when you do it. So I just did this thing where I kind of subtly placed the grass going out from the house. So like the grass is a little bit brighter and thicker, I guess, like closer to the house, and then it's more faded as you go out. And that was something that I felt went with the rest of the world a little bit better, because you still have grass, so you know it's not on all sand, so it looks a little bit more like interesting and textured than that, but it also just doesn't feel out of place, and it also looks kind of dry, so it looks more natural with the world, I think, because like when you just have this like bright, lush lawn in the middle of this desert landscape, that just looks kind of off to me. So yeah, I was really happy with how that came out in the end. And then here I'm just filling in this area with plants. So as I said before, this yard is very landscape. So rather than doing what I do a lot of time where I just slap some dirt down and then just stick some plants on top of the dirt, I made these kind of garden boxes using the lower vents and then just filled them in with plants. And also because this was a house in Oasis Springs, I got to use different plants that I would typically use, because there's all these more desert type plants like the cacti and all of that, and like some of the plants that came with Jungle Adventure that I like don't really use much because it just doesn't fit in with my typical builds, but I got to use all of that with this build. So that was another thing that was really fun for me, because I do like to switch up the style I build in every so often, because it just gets kind of old doing the same thing over and over again. So this was also a build that was just really refreshing to work on, and yeah, like I said, I'm just really happy with how it turned out. And I think it would also be a fun house to play in, because there's like a whole bunch of activities out here in the yard. And I also just really like how it looks with like the deck and the pool, and how it's like kind of in the deck, and then there's like this lower wood deck off to the side. And that was an idea I got from the floor plan that I saw, because yeah, like this is kind of how that yard was laid out. And I just thought it was really cool, so I wanted to try to recreate that here in The Sims. Like I said, there's a bunch of activities to do in this yard. So we've got a slip and slide off to one side. There's, of course, the pool and the hot tub. There's a fire pit. There's a kids' play area that has a swing set. And I think like the monkey bars and like the water balloon bucket. And what else was there in there? I don't really remember. There was something else in there, but I forget what it was. And I think that's, oh yeah, there's also a little outdoor kitchen, which I thought looked cool. So it feels a little bit fancier than just having a grill by itself. And I think there's also a bar off in this area, and then like a seating area. And I think that's about it. But yeah, still, like there's just a bunch of different activities that you can do on this yard. So it'll also be really good to throw parties, and like I can see this being a good house to throw a party, like a pool party at, if it's like leisure day or like some kind of leisure day like holiday in your game. Although it is in Oasis Springs, so there's a tendency to be a lot of heat waves, so that might not be the best mix, because I guess Sims have a tendency to die when it gets really hot because they don't have the sense to like jump in a pool or go inside or something like that. Or I don't know, maybe they do, but I just heard about people having problems at first with Sims just dying because it was like a heat wave or it was really cold or something like that. But I haven't noticed that in my game, so I don't know, maybe they fixed something since the original patch. Or I guess also I just maybe haven't spent enough time in the extreme weathers like that. But yeah, this is the kids area that I was talking about, because after I put in the pool, I just had this like big open space, and I wanted this yard to feel more filled in and not have as much open space. So we just stuck this in. I was gonna put in that whole like pirate play area thing, but I was like, nah, that's a little too fancy. Like I know this is a fancy mansion, but that just feels like a little much to have like a whole fancy pirate jungle gym in your yard. And I did add in that toddler slide, but I took that out later on because I decided as I was furnishing that I didn't want to have a toddler bedroom, because for whatever reason I just didn't feel like this would be the house of a family that had a toddler. Like I felt like they were a family that had very like middle-aged parents who had older kids, like a teen and a child. Like that, they're a little bit older and more established in their life and their career. Like I could also see it being parents who were a little bit older when they decided to start a family. You know, like obviously if you live in a house like that, like this, you're pretty successful. So I don't know, like maybe in their, younger years, they established this whole business and that kind of thing, and then they like moved on to starting family, or maybe it was like one of the parents who started this whole business, and then they married someone, and then started a family. You know, like they spent their 20s and younger years like more so focused on like building up their career, and they became really successful, and then met someone and started a family and did that whole thing. Or, you know, maybe they're both like, if they're like a power couple and, you know, they both built this business. I don't know, but that's just kind of what I was imagining, you know, like a very successful couple, and, you know, they waited a little bit later in life to have kids, and, you know, their kids are a little bit older at this point when they have this house. I don't know, that's just what comes to my mind. So here we're working on the little outdoor kitchen I was talking about. It's not really much. We just got this fancy grill that came with perfect patio stuff and a counter, and then across from that, I put in some island counters, and then we got a sink in those. So, yeah, not much to it, but just like a cool area to sit outside and grab a bite to eat. And those counters are, of course, a good space to put the food on once the Sims are done grilling. And then we've got an outdoor eating area as well. I think this would be a nice area to sit down and eat because you can look out and see the pool. And then I think also you could probably look out and see the mountain somewhat, because I believe this lot, it kind of sits at the top of a hill, so like right past it there's a bit of a drop off, and then you just get this view of the lower lying areas, although there is a fence around this yard, so that might block that view, so I'm not sure if you're really going to be able to see anything other than the pool, but still, that would be nice to just sit next to the pool. And I also didn't stick a pool ladder on the pool, because I felt like that didn't go with the, I don't know if I'd say this is minimalist. I don't think this is minimalist, but I think not having the pool ladder just goes a bit more with the high-end modern look. And fortunately, Sims in The Sims 4 like don't need the ladder to get in and out of pools, which I mean is maybe unfortunate if you're someone who likes to murder Sims by using the pool. But yeah, they're a little smarter, and they can just pull themselves up out of the pool by grabbing the edge. I mean, I'm pretty sure they can. Maybe I'm wrong on that, and then that'd be bad. But no, I'm pretty sure that is the case, and they don't need a ladder to get into the pool. But yeah, I remember the days back in The Sims 1, or like the original Sims, when you could just stick the Sims in the pool and then remove the ladder, and then they would die. Like, they just couldn't figure out how to pull themselves back out of the pool. Like, I remember that was my favorite way to kill Sims. So I think I've talked about this before, but like I used to have this, like, I don't know why this is a thing I wanted to do, but like I had this desire to see if I could kill enough Sims to fill up every square of a lot with a tombstone. And I would always start doing it with the Goth's house. And I would kill like 10 Sims, and I'd be like, oh, this is boring, just murdering Sims. And then I would stop it. And then eventually I'd be like, you know what? I want to do that again. And then I would just start it again. I never got very far. Like, I think 10 or 12 Sims was the most I got to. But I just, for some reason in my 10-year-old brain, I thought it would be hilarious to have tombstones all over the yard and then urns like everywhere in the house. But no, I ended up never fulfilling that morbid fantasy of mine. I don't know, I'm sure we all went through a phase in our lives where we just had a desire to just kill Sims. I don't really do that much nowadays though, but yeah, in the past I used to love doing that. I remember like one of my cousins told me, she used to play The Sims 2, and like she told me that you could kill Sims by having, like, if you didn't put a railing around stairs, that they would just fall down and die, and I believed her. So I remember I was like, oh, that's an inventive way to kill Sims. And I would just like have them walk up to the edge of the staircase and then like click go here to the other side of the staircase because I thought they would just walk across the opening and then fall to their death. And they never did. And like I just kept sitting there really frustrated, like trying to get my Sims to die that way. And I'm pretty sure my cousin was just sitting there like laughing at me for like trying to do that, thinking it would actually work. And while we're on the topic of ways in which Sims can die, I remember how in The Sims 2, Sims could get killed by a swarm of flies, which I thought was crazy when I finally found out about that, because like if you don't clean their house well enough, they could potentially be eaten alive by a swarm of flies, which is just creepy. Like The Sims 2 is just a harder game in general. Like I remember the ghosts in that game were hardcore, because I don't think ghosts in any other Sims iteration could kill you, but ghosts in The Sims 2 could scare you to death, which I found really frustrating because I would play with legacy families, and when one family member would die, I would keep their tombstone somewhere on the lot, and then they would just come out at night, which before I realized they could kill their family members, I thought was cool because, oh look, the Sim that I cared about had died is coming back, but then they would just scare their grandson to death. Like, they don't care that it's their grandson. They just want them to join them in the afterlife. And it was just super frustrating because, you know, like I remember one time, like I think I had a Sim who was like the heir, and, you know, I was excited about like playing with them, and then their great-grandpa or someone came and scared them to death one night, and I was like, oh, well, that sucks, but I guess it'll make things more interesting. I guess their next oldest sibling is the new heir, and then a ghost killed them as well, and then it just got real frustrating. It was a lot less fun. I just remember like being kind of scared of ghosts coming out at night and killing family members, so I think I ended up not keeping the tombstones. I don't really remember exactly, because it was years ago, but I just remember that being like a whole like frustration where at night I would be like, oh, like I would just be like frightened when the ghosts would come out because I didn't want my Sims to die. Like that game was just Sims 2 was so much more challenging than other games because there was just stuff like how, like with babies, like you would actually have the diapers showing up on the floors and the bottles showing up on the floors after you fed them and changed their diapers, which was more realistic, but it was also just really frustrating in general. And, you know, like they definitely made things more easier in Sims 3 and 4, but I don't know, I'd love to revisit The Sims 2 someday, but I don't know if I still have access to it because I lost the password for the Origin account I had that on. I don't know, I could probably figure out a way to get that. And I don't know, like it would be cool to start a Let's Play on that, but like I don't know, I don't really like want to start another Let's Play right now. I kind of like just having 2 series going on at once because it's just easier to like make quicker progress through the series and still at the same time be able to upload more speed builds and that whole deal, which is why like I haven't started another series since my Cliffside Let's Build ended, and I don't think I'm gonna start another one until my Cats and Dogs Let's Play ends. But anyway, enough of that. So getting back to the build, we have most of the living room area furnished, and I used a pretty like bright and airy color scheme in this house because that's just kind of been the color scheme I've been into lately. Like there was a period of time where I was into darker color schemes and using a lot of blacks on the furniture, but lately I've just been going through a phase where I like lighter woods and softer colors. And I think part of this is also because of due to the lighting fixes over the past, I guess it was like 2 years ago they put out that lighting patch, but yeah, like because of the recent adjustments to lighting, I think lighter items do look better because I just remember like some of the like white's not looking good under some lights, but I think that's a bit better now. But either that, I don't know. That's just kind of the color scheme I've been into lately. And I also didn't put a ton of furniture in the living room. Like it isn't very cluttered, and that's just because I felt like that was a better look for this house. Like this is a very large modern house, and because of that I didn't feel like having a whole bunch of clutter everywhere suited. Like I kind of imagine the owners of this house being a little bit tidier, and they like the main areas of their house to look a little bit neater and don't like junk laying around. Like they kind of want everything to be put away in its place, and I just didn't think having a lot of furniture would look really good. Like I was kind of worried at first that it's a little bit too empty in there, but I think it's fine. Like I just think it looks so much better like it is now than it would have if I just cluttered it up with more stuff. But now we're on to the kitchen, and I like how this turned out as well. Like it is modern, but it also has a touch of more traditional styling to it, I guess, as well, like with the backsplash, which is kind of modern, but at the same time it's not super modern. And then the counters are also a wood counter, like rather than being black or white, which I just thought made it look a little bit friendlier. Like when I tried having white and black counters and cabinets, I just felt like it looked a little bit cold, and I don't really like it when they're modern homes that just look cold. Like I still like them to feel warm and inviting and somewhat lived in. Oh, this isn't like a super lived in feeling house, but you know, there's still a good bit of clutter in the kitchen at least. But yeah, I just wanted to feel a little bit warmer, more welcoming. And that's why I changed the wood floors in this house from gray, which they originally were, to this lighter wood because I started furnishing, and I just wasn't happy with it. Just felt a little bit cold, and it didn't, because like I wanted to have more pops of color in this house, and I just didn't feel like that would look as good with the gray floors I was originally going to go with. So yeah, I'm really happy I changed the floors to this because it just added like so much brightness to the house and just made it feel so much better. But we're done with the kitchen and are on to the dining room now. And as far as what we're going to furnish in this part, we're going to, of course, furnish the dining room and then the laundry room and the garage, and then that's going to be, and then the next part we'll, of course, furnish the bedrooms and the rest of the house. But yeah, there's not really a whole lot to the dining room. It took me a little bit to kind of figure out where I was going to go with the tables and chairs and everything, because there were some bits I cut out where I was trying to figure out different chair and table combinations, because for some reason I just had some trouble just like figuring this out and getting to where I wanted to go with this. But I did use that amoeba rug in here, although I didn't keep it the blue tiger stripe pattern because I thought that was maybe too much blue in here, because we had blue on the walls in the kitchen and then on the bar stools, and it was like a different kind of blue, and wasn't really a fan of how that looked, so I think I changed it to the bright green eventually. And then also found this wall painting from Dinah, which I haven't used in a while. Like, that's a really good painting, but I keep forgetting that exists, but it just looks so nice in this dining room. So here's where it really started to come together. Then on this wall, I just stuck a painting from City Living, I think it was. Although I had some trouble like figuring out what I wanted to do with this wall as well. But I eventually just stuck that painting up. I was like, no, we're just gonna be done with it and just move on from this, because I don't know, I do that sometimes when I build where I just go in circles with things and I keep trying different things and I'm not happy with it, and then eventually I'm just like, no one's gonna like look at that wall and judge that it doesn't look perfect, you know, just put something down and move on. But now we're on to the laundry room, and I'm really happy with how this room turned out. It has a very light and bright look to it, like a very calming look, and I used that wallpaper that I used on the outside of the house in here. And I ended up using it a lot through this house as kind of an accent wall in different rooms, which I thought was nice. It was just kind of a nice way to tie the outside in with to tie the outside into the inside, and it just looks really good as like a tile in this room. And I just love all the whites in here, and I tried to mix some of the items from Laundry Day stuff in here, even though it wasn't quite as modern as the rest of the room, but I still think it looked pretty good, like combining, like sticking that shelf above where the washer and dryer is. And I also added this basket that came with seasons in. I was gonna stick it outside, but then I thought, no, it'll look good in here in the laundry room. So that was another nice little touch. And then just adding different decorations throughout. And I also stuck some pet items in here because originally I wasn't gonna have any pet items in this house, but then I decided, no, let's just throw some things in here in case anyone who downloads this wants to have pets. But you know, I just felt like that worked because, as I said before, like I see this as being a very put together family, so I figure they might want to tuck the pet stuff off to the side somewhere so it's not out in the open area. So I just stuck a litter box in here, and then we've got the food dispenser next to it, which I know in real life isn't a thing you should do. Like, I know most cats hate it if you stick their litter box next to their food, which is understandable because no one wants their dining room and bathroom to be the same room, but it's a sim, so I don't think they really care about it as much, you know, as long as they have a litter box and they have food. And then I stuck some pet beds in some other areas of the house. And I also went back and added a pet toy box into the living room. Just figured, like, since we had so much empty space out there, I might as well just stick that. Yeah, so here we go. I'm just sticking that in behind the couch, so that at least helps it add a little bit, you know, just a little bit more to the room. And then I was gonna put a pet bed there, but didn't really like how that looks. And we also got a scratching post in here. And that is pretty much it for this room, apart from just adding a rug and changing out the blinds. So now we're on to the garage, which is the last room for this house, and this isn't really the most functional room. I did add the woodworking table in here, so that's at least something you can use this room for, but that's really about it. Although, I did add the decoration box in here, so that's like two useful things in this room, and other than that, we just got a toy car that I blew up and made the size of what a real car would be, and I did that thing I've done in a bunch of builds recently where I put the shelves out and then I just add a bunch of holiday decorations onto them, which I think just works even better with seasons, like now that you actually have holidays in the game, so it just kind of looks like you got Christmas decorations and Halloween decorations, all that up, although it's a bit before we get there. Like, I'm just adding the shelves in here, but it's a little bit before we get to the actual decorating. And then in that corner, I just added a trash can, a couple of trash cans, and colored this one blue, so it looks kind of like a recycling bin. Like, I would have liked to have gotten more blue ideally, but that's what we had to work with, so that's what I did. And I also actually use those garage doors that came with City Living because usually I don't use those as garage doors for houses just because I don't feel like they go with homes, because usually I build more traditional homes, but since this was a very modern home, it actually worked for it. And then here I'm just going through the hidden objects cheat and just pulling these different tools out. I'm not sure if that's going to actually download with the house. Hopefully it does. But yeah, there's a chance that you might be deleted when you actually download it. But I thought it was a cool touch, like just to have this workbench and then like a whole bunch of different tools sitting on top of it. Although I added in the woodworking table and realized that a bunch of those items were assets from the table, so we got some repeat items, but I think that's fine. You know, like that's where I just realized that was where the hammer and the tape measure and all that came from. But here's where I'm finally going through and adding in all those decorations. At first I was going to try to keep it somewhat organized and have like one shelf of Halloween decorations and then one of Thanksgiving decorations and one of Christmas decorations, but that didn't end up working out. I gave up on that pretty quick. But we are almost at the end of the video, so as usual, if you want to download this, there'll be a link to do so in the description, other stuff in there, how to find it in-game, and keep an eye out in a couple days for the next part of the speed build. But with that, I'm gonna go ahead and leave off here. So if you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, and bye!